Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome into Capitol View. I'm Mallory Brooks. Today we explore the possibility of recreational marijuana in Arkansas after ballot petitions were filed for it to be on the 2020 ballot. We speak to both sides coming up of the issue. But first, it has been a busy week on Capitol Hill. Senator Tom Cotton joins us to break down some of those hot topics. Thank you so much for joining us for Capitol View this morning.
Thanks, Mallory. Good to be on with you.
Well, we're happy you're back home. I know it's been a very busy week. A lot of hot topics on Capitol Hill. We want to start with the death penalty, which in the past few days has made headlines as the Department of Justice announced they would resume capital punishment. One of those connected here to the state of Arkansas. What are your thoughts on this?
I commend Attorney General Barr and the President for going forward with the executions of these criminals that have committed heinous murders. The first execution will be in Arkansas. This was a murder that happened not too far from where I grew up in northern Pope County. This man brutally murdered an 8-year-old girl and her parents, duct taped their heads inside of plastic bags and dumped them in a bayou, and they ended up in Lake Dardanelle. It's time for those families to get justice. All 5 of these murderers, at least in part, were sentenced to death because they murdered a child. For 8 years, the Obama administration had a de facto moratorium on executions, not on the death penalty. They pursued the death penalty with the Boston Marathon bomber or with the shooter at the African American church in South Carolina. These laws are on our books. Juries of their peers sentenced them to die for their heinous crimes. It's time that the Department of Justice move forward with them, and I'm glad that Attorney General Barr is doing so.
In the past few days, several of the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates have been weighing in, stating that they oppose what is happening, saying that the executions should not happen. How do you think this affects the 2020 election, and what do you think of those statements?
Well, I simply think that an Aryan Nation white supremacist who brutally murdered an 8-year-old girl and her parents by shooting them with a stun gun and then duct taping their heads inside plastic bags deserves the ultimate penalty. If those Democrats oppose it, to include Joe Biden, who wrote the law under which some of these murderers were sentenced to die and now is flip-flop for political reasons, want to campaign on that next year, I'm very happy to have that debate with the American people. I think that's not going to work out very well for them, though.
Okay, let's talk about the Mueller hearing this week. A long day of questioning during that hearing for Mueller. You still have Democrats, some Democrats calling for President Trump's impeachment. You have some Republicans saying we didn't learn anything new during this, nothing too explosive. What do you think after seeing that?
Well, we didn't learn anything new about the Mueller report because he had said he wasn't going to go outside the 4 corners of that report, and he didn't really. So I'm not exactly sure what Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats thought they were going to accomplish by this, but I think it's time for them to move on, to get past this obsession and mania with Donald Trump and his election in 2016. I mean, they have an election just around the corner where they can beat him in 2020 if they don't like his policies. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of urgent issues to address, trying to solve the crisis at our border, or to fund our military, or to pass the Mexico-Canada trade agreement. These things have been pushed to the back burner in the House of Representatives because the Democrats have been so obsessed with what happened in 2016. We know, and we've known for a long time what happened in 2016. Russia was up to no good, meddling in our democratic debates and in our campaigns, but there's no collusion between Russian intelligence services and the Trump campaign.
You mentioned the border. Let's talk about the border, which has been a very divisive topic. Seeing some inhumane things take place. What do you think the solution is for the border and for what's going on right now?
Well, fortunately, the immediate patch is that we passed a bill a couple weeks ago that would provide more money to the Customs and Borders Patrol to provide additional shelter, food, medical care, and so forth for those persons who are detained at the border. If someone is detained by the federal government, we have to provide for them. The long-term solution, though, is to stop these people coming from Central American countries and making bogus claims of asylum. The Trump administration has tried to do that in various ways. Mexico is beginning to crack down on illegal crossings on their southern border. We're working with Guatemala and Mexico both to try to get them determine what's called a safe third country. So anyone coming from south of Mexico would have to apply for asylum inside of Mexico. The ultimate way to solve this problem is to keep people from coming to our border who have bogus claims of asylum, because we can't continue to process 100,000 illegal immigrants at our border every single month who are claiming asylum. We simply don't have the manpower, and we don't have the detention facilities to do so.
Okay, you're headed back to D.C. One thing that will happen in the Senate this week expected is a vote on the budget deal, which would raise debt and the deficit. Do you plan to vote on this?
I'm still reviewing the budget agreement, Mallory. I have to say I'm not enthusiastic about the amount of domestic spending and the increase in the debt ceiling without any other reforms. I have in the past voted for such a deal because of the significant increases in defense spending at a time when our military was really in a bad place after 8 years of budget cuts under the Obama administration. This bill has some increase in defense spending in the first year. Unfortunately, it's essentially flat in the second year. The threats and the dangers that we face from overseas are not going to go away in year 2 of this budget agreement, so I'm disappointed that there wasn't more defense spending in the second year, but I'm still reviewing this and speaking with some of our budget experts and some of our military leaders.
So no definitive yes or no?
Not yet. It's it's a lot of money, and it's a very consequential agreement, so I'd rather get it right than get it fast.
And your opponent, Democratic candidate Josh Mahoney, releasing this statement saying, quote, Senator Cotton is a Washington elitist who has forgotten about Arkansas. What is your response to that statement?
Well, I'm very proud to be running on a record that we've put together in the last 2.5 years with the president, and what I've done over my 6 years in Washington as well. We've got record low unemployment. We have wage growth finally for working class Arkansans. Our campaign had a great kickoff yesterday. We had several hundred people attending. We have huge coalitions of farmers and law enforcement and business leaders and women. So I'm very proud to have a grassroots campaign powered all across the state of Arkansas, and I'm looking forward to hitting the campaign trail hard next year.
Senator Tom Cotton, thank you so much for joining us and making time for us on Capitol View. I know you're very busy, headed back to D.C. on the Hill. And coming up, ballot petitions filed that would allow recreational marijuana in Arkansas. We talk to both sides of the issue. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
New ice cream cookie sandwiches from Sonic. Delicious cookies and real ice cream are on a summer reunion tour. They taste so good live. Hurry in for Sonic Nights. New $1.49 ice cream cookie sandwiches and half-price shakes after 8.
I switched from Dodge.
We switched from Ford.
I switched from Ram. I switched to Chevy.
We switched to Chevy. We switched to Chevy.
For dependability.
For technology.
For the muscle.
And just look at it.
Adios, Lexus.
Bye-bye, Ford.
We switched to Chevy.
And I couldn't be happier.
See for yourself why people are switching at the Chevy All-Star Open House.
Get $2,500 total cash allowance on most Malibu models when you finance with GM Financial. See your Arkansas Best Chevy dealer.
For the women in Oklahoma City, this will be a history-making night.
I want every little girl to know if you can dream it, you can really do it.
Women athletes redefining strong.
American Ninja Warrior, Monday on NBC.
I've been fighting these companies my whole life.
Green coat can cause cancer. They hid that. So that's where the law comes in.
If you fight for what's right, you can change the world.
Love City Law, Mondays this fall on NBC.
We're home. Let's go.
What kind of SUV is that?
It's a brand new Buick Enclave. That really makes it easy to unload all those little maniacs. Sure does. Hey, honey, we should get one of those and have like a ton more kids.
Yeah, I love that. More kids.
Yeah.
Introducing the all-new Buick Enclave, tomorrow's SUV for today's family.
Get over $5,800 below MSRP on this 2019 Enclave Avenir. See your Arkansas Select Buick dealer.
I'm really getting a vacation vibe off of this mocktail slot.
This has transported me to some peaceful beach.
We needed to get away.
From what?
From that parking space.
Oh, yeah, we were there last week.
All week!
Get them while you can. New mocktail slushes like Pina Colada.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. 2 ballot petitions have been filed that would allow recreational marijuana in Arkansas. Melissa Foltz with the Drug Policy Education Group joins us. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning.
Thank you for having me.
This, of course, has been big news in Arkansas over the last few weeks. A lot of questions going into this, and you're here to break it down.
Exactly.
Start by telling us exactly what these 2 ballot proposals are.
Okay, the first one is for adult use. Over 21, anyone would be able to purchase cannabis at a dispensary or grow up to 6 plants in their home in a locked facility. You have to be 21, so it will help get rid of, it won't be out in the open for kids. The second one is for expungement. There are kids that are maybe 18 or 20 years old that get into trouble and they get caught with some cannabis and it ruins their lives. They get a conviction and it doesn't just follow them for a year or two. It follows them literally for the rest of their lives. Anytime they go for a job interview, there's that little box, have you been convicted of a felony? And you have to check it. The cost of it is unbelievable, not just for fighting the conviction, but what it does to your family and what it does to your life. And we want to give these people their lives back.
That expungement would be for small amounts?
Small amounts.
So what are we talking? What is a small amount?
Anything under 16 ounces, anything for 6 plants or less, and for paraphernalia. There are so many people that when, before this became legal for medical, that were trying to grow 1 or 2 plants for themselves because they were sick. We had one young man that was trying to grow 3 plants for his wife who had several serious conditions, and this was the only thing that helped. Someone saw him, they turned him in. He was just getting ready to take his nurse practitioner test. That's no more. He can never do that again as long as he has this felony on his record. And we want to give these people their lives back.
So those are the 2 ballots that were turned in.
Right.
You now have a year to get 90,000 signatures for both of them, each. Do you expect to reach that the next year?
Absolutely. Our goal is actually to get at least 110,000 signatures on each one of them to make sure we've got plenty where they can't knock us off.
Okay, let's talk about restrictions. You said you must be, if this were to happen for recreational marijuana, you must be 21.
Exactly.
And other states, what other states have we seen that have legalized marijuana?
There have been several states. As a matter of fact, let's see, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, California. I'm trying to think, somebody just legalized it.
In Michigan.
Michigan, yes, Michigan.
Just legalized it.
I think New Mexico has. There's 8 that have legalized it recreationally. And all of these things that everyone's bringing up that, oh, it's going to bring the world to an end, are not true at all. And we have statistics from other states that can prove that. So.
And we want to bring that up. Jerry Cox from the Family Council released this press release to KARK and the other news outlets saying that legalizing recreational marijuana will put Arkansans at risk, mentioning marijuana-related car accidents, mentioning children who end up in the hospital because their parents, getting a hold of their parents' marijuana, and kind of your response to that.
Well, just so happen to have some statistics from Colorado, which they always use Colorado that, oh, it's, gone to hell in a handbasket.
Colorado, who launched it all, was the first one, correct, to have recreational marijuana.
According to state reports, the number of cannabis-related calls to the poison control has increased significantly since the pre-legislation. But these figures should be kept in context. A lot of people never would say anything before. If you got too much, you just wrote it out. But of those calls, 147 children, and 78 of those were under 5 that got their cannabis. You know what happened to them? They kept them overnight in the hospital to watch them. They slept all night. They got up. They felt great. They went home. Whereas 2,057 calls regarding exposure to cosmetics and personal care products, 1,422 exposed to household cleaning products, and 703 exposed to vitamins. So in the grand scheme of things, the amount of cannabis that the kids have gotten a hold of is minimal. And if you're a parent, you need to be more responsible. And that's not any different than how many children go over and grab their parents' beer can and they think that's funny. It's not funny. They're a child and they don't need to be using anything
that's true.
that has any kind of effect on them.
I want to talk about what this would mean if you get to the point where we would be next year when you get those signatures, if and when you get those signatures. What happens next? It goes on the 2020 ballot, is that correct?
We hope. The law has changed. Our lovely legislature is determined to destroy the petitioning process, and they've made that very clear. I mean, blatantly clear to us. They've changed the law. Used to, you took it to the Attorney General, she approved it or she rejected it, and you kept turning it in until she approved it. Then you filed it with the Secretary of State, you went and got your signatures, the Secretary of State validated those signatures, and then you went on the ballot. Now, you file it with the Secretary of State, you go and gather all your signatures, spend all of your money, all of your time, all of your effort, then the Secretary of State validates them, and then you go before a board of elections that has been appointed by the governor and the legislators, and they determine it if it's ballot worthy or not. And if they reject it, then you go straight to the Supreme Court. So it's changed a little bit.
Before you go, I want to talk about Grow Your Own. You mentioned it earlier.
Yes.
What is this in this ballot? What exactly does that entail?
You will be allowed to grow up to 6 plants, 6 mature plants and 6 seedlings in your home in a locked facility. You know, it's kind of like everybody said, oh, everybody will be growing it. No, they won't. You know, everybody can grow tomatoes, but not many people really do it. But there are a lot of people that like to make their own beer, make their own wine, and grow their own marijuana. And so we felt like that they deserve that right. If they're responsible adults and they keep it in a locked facility where children can't get it or a kid can't climb over the fence and cultivate it themselves, there should be no problem with that. It's done in nearly every other state where it has been legalized. They're allowed to grow, and there's been absolutely no problems with that.
Melissa Foltz, thank you so much for joining us. Many more conversations over the next year with this topic, as so many Arkansans do have questions, and we continue this discussion after the break. Arkansas Surgeon General Greg Bledsoe joins us in studio with the other side of the issue. You're watching Capitol View on a Sunday morning.
Soak up the savings on a new hot spring spa. Townley Pool & Spa now offers 0% for 60 months on the world's best-selling spa. We make it easy so you can take it easy.
Ah, Townley.
Here's your Buick, sir. Actually, that's my Buick.
How are we going to fit in your mom's Buick?
Easy.
I like that new Buick.
Me too.
I was actually talking about that Buick.
I knew that.
Did you?
Buick's fresh new lineup is full of surprises.
Get 13% below MSRP on most 2019 Buick Encore models. That's over $3,400 below MSRP on this 2019 Buick Encore Preferred. See your Arkansas Select Buick dealer.
Ashley Home Store's breaking all the rules by bringing Black Friday to July. Hurry in today and shop Black Friday-inspired deals on living room, dining room, bedroom sets, and so much more. It's your last chance to save up to 30% or get 0% interest for 72 months. You don't have to wait until the end of the year for Black Friday deals anymore. Hurry, it's the final days of the Black Friday and July sale going on now. Shop and save today, only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store. Ashley Home Store, exit 123 off I-30 in Bryant.
The game of football is about pain. 7 years old until I stopped playing at 31. I thought that foot pain was going to be with me for the rest of my life. I'm so glad I met Good Feet. I'm so glad that those arch supports are in my shoes. If I had known about the Good Feet arch support earlier, I would have more than 1 championship. I would have 2 championship rings.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
Attention Lake Hamilton commercial real estate investors. Real estate and riverboat auction, Tuesday, August 20th at 10 a.m. at 5200 Central Avenue in Hot Springs. With a 1.3-acre commercial property with 560 feet of Lake Hamilton frontage and 360 feet of Highway 7 frontage and a 4,000-square-foot restaurant. Offered separately and in combination, the Belle of Hot Springs at 200-passenger riverboat. For auction details, go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it, sold it, sold it.
Soak up the savings on a new hot spring spa. Townley Pool & Spa now offers 0% for 60 months on the world's best-selling spa. We make it easy so you can take it easy.
Ah, Townley.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Well, welcome back to Capitol View on this Sunday morning. We just spoke with Melissa Fultz, who is pushing for recreational marijuana in Arkansas. Arkansas Surgeon General Greg Bledsoe joins us now on the other side of the issue. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
This is certainly a hot topic here in Arkansas since 2 ballot petitions were turned in by a group just a few weeks ago. They now have a year to get signatures, and then their goal is to get this on the 2020 ballot. What do you think recreational marijuana would do here in Arkansas?
Well, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about what it will do economically. Now, if you're in the marijuana industry, it's going to be great for you. But if you're an employer or you're thinking about relocating your company to Arkansas, I think it's going to give you second thoughts and going to cause problems. I'm worried about intoxication rates, people driving under the influence of marijuana. In other states that have passed recreational marijuana, as marijuana use goes up, driving under the influence of marijuana goes up as well, and that causes problems. And then lastly, I'm really concerned about the message we're sending to our young people. The research, if there's anything that the medical research is certain of, it's that young people under the age of 25 who regularly use marijuana, so at least once a week, never fully regain their cognitive abilities, their full cognitive potential, even after stopping. And so if we pass recreational marijuana, what is the message we're sending to the young people? We're telling them it's no big deal, and I think you're going to see an upsurge of young people using it, especially with this grow your own provision that's in the initiative. And I think we're going to have problems with that and just put one more hurdle in front of our young people as they're trying to grow and achieve their dreams.
Do you see this happening here in Arkansas?
You know, it's funny. I have people I've spoken with who sort of discount this, and they don't think it would ever happen. But I think there's a good chance it passes. And
really?
The reason is that when you look back 3 years ago when we had the debate over medical marijuana, people thought that it wouldn't pass 3 years ago, but it passed. And when you look at the amount of money that was spent on the marketing campaign, the anti-marijuana group, I think we raised $100,000. The pro-marijuana group raised $3 to $4 million. I think that the marijuana industry is poised to reap huge, a big windfall financially if this gets passed in Arkansas. And they're going to invest very heavily in a marketing campaign to push this through. And I think if it doesn't pass, it's going to be very close. But I'm actually expecting it to pass unless word gets out to Arkansas and they learn the truth about marijuana.
Okay, so let's say this petition, they get enough signatures, they can get it on the 2020 ballot, and like you said there's a chance it will pass. If it passes, would we see the weight with medical marijuana? Because when medical marijuana was voted on by voters and they passed it through in that election, it took years until it was implemented, several things holding it up. Would this still be the case with recreational marijuana?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people were surprised when medical marijuana passed. It was fairly close, and it had been voted down before, and so I think it caught some people by surprise. I don't think that people will be as surprised with this. And the other issue is that what a lot of people don't realize is in the application process for the dispensaries and the growing licenses, there was a lot of legal skirmishes that occurred, and people were upset about the process. And so the marijuana industry in Arkansas was held up in court for a number of months, and that's what delayed it. I don't expect that will happen. I think that the state is better prepared if it passes. But certainly, there could be a delay, but I don't expect there would be.
10 states, I believe, currently have recreational marijuana. That all started with medical marijuana. So you have seen this coming for some time. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a process. If you look nationally, what you find is that every state that has recreational marijuana started out with medical marijuana. And once medical marijuana has passed, 2 to 3 election cycles later, recreational marijuana gets on the ballot and usually passes. So this isn't a surprise to anyone who's been following this. We expected this. And the reason for that is that this is big, big money, millions and millions of dollars. And that doesn't mean that everyone who's pro-marijuana is in it for the money, but the people who are funding it are industry people, deep-pocketed individuals who are set to reap millions and millions of dollars if Arkansas and other states go recreational. So I've said in the past publicly, and I believe it, if you love big tobacco, you'll love big marijuana, because big marijuana is just big tobacco painted green. It's the same sort of thing. And what's happening is that this industry is set to reap a huge windfall financially if Arkansas goes recreational. And so they're willing to invest millions of dollars in this marketing campaign. And it's been I mean, this is part of the national plan for legalizing marijuana nationally.
What do you want Arkansans at home watching? What do you want them to know about recreational marijuana and having it here in Arkansas?
Well, I'm really concerned about it, and the thing that concerns me most is that there's been 10 to 15 years of discussion about marijuana nationally. And what the prevailing narrative has been that marijuana is safe, it's natural, it's not a big deal, it's harmless, it's good for all sorts of medical ailments. And it's just simply not true. The people who actually look at the research and look at what's happening are surprised that this has been accepted so quickly. If I were counseling people, if I were talking to young people or talking to parents or teachers or other folks that are concerned about the state, I would say, you know, peel off the superficial narrative and look deeper into this issue, because what you'll find is that this is a drug that is not safe and could potentially have cause major problems for our state, particularly in the messaging that we're sending to our young people and their potential use of the substance.
Surgeon General Greg Bledsoe, thank you so much. A conversation we will continue to have over the next year. We appreciate you for coming on Capitol View on this Sunday morning, and we are back to wrap it up right after this. You are watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Sold it. Absolute Real Estate Auction at 821 Eagle Mountain Boulevard in Batesville with the 3,600 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom home in Eagle Mountain subdivision. Seller regardless of price. Wednesday, July 31st at 11 a.m. For auction details, go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it.
We dreamed of extending our family's living space into nature. We chose the Good Earth's Landscape Services team to transform our yard into a comfortable extension of our home. Visit thegoodearthgarden.com to start your dream landscape today. The Good Earth Garden Center, where wonder grows.
At Kroger, we've got more ways to save on all the fresh foods you truly crave. Great sales, digital coupons, and fuel points that really add up. At Kroger, saving is easy.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can always take Capitol View on the go. Download the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcast. We are back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Have a great weekend.